Hi, hello, welcome. It's been a little while. I feel like I always have to say this at the beginning of my Bleach videos, but I'm ready to talk about the final arc of Bleach. So let's talk about it. If you are not aware and you just stumbled across this video, the 1,000-Year Blood War is the final arc of the Bleach manga series. It's one of the longest arcs, and I finished it, and I want to talk about it. So I have to be honest, I was putting off this video for a little while. Not because I didn't want to talk about the arc or anything, I very much did and still do. It's just that life got a little stressful, and I just have not had the motivation to sit down and work on this video and think about what I'm gonna say and make it. And to be honest, there was so much jam-packed into this arc that thinking about just sitting down and thinking of all the little things that happened and not wanting to miss anything that I want to comment on and all that kind of stuff, it just felt so overwhelming to me, just so overwhelming. And so because of that, I procrastinated making this for quite a while. Because of that, I'm actually not going to be talking about specific things that happened in this arc. I'm not really going to go over a lot of specifics. I've done that in pretty much all of my other Bleach videos. I've talked about specific things that happen in each arc that I like or dislike or felt really strongly about one way or another. I'm not really going to do that this time. I'm going to kind of be speaking more broadly. If I tried to force myself to make this video the other way, I probably would never make it. I'd just keep putting it off and off forever. So here we are. I hope you'll excuse my lack of details in this video, but I just don't have the energy. But I still want to talk about it. I want to talk about this arc so badly, and I have wanted to, as I've said. So, let's just get into it. Things are going to be different. It's fine. So I'm going to be talking about this arc specifically, but I also wanted to use this video to talk about Bleach overall. So I'm going to be kind of sectioning off this video to talk about those two different things. So we'll start off with my discussion about Bleach overall, and that's going to be completely spoiler free, just in case there's anyone that stumbles across this and has not read or seen Bleach, especially not up to the end. And then the section where I'm talking about this arc specifically will be spoiler filled. Okay, so Bleach overall. Now that I finished it, what do I think about the series overall? I thought it was very, very enjoyable. The story itself is pretty thrilling. I wouldn't say it's really got a high concept plot. It's not a really simple idea, but it's the things that happen along the way that make it a really fun read. Interestingly enough, Bleach doesn't have this one big overarching plot or goal. There's nothing really set up in the beginning as the end destination. If you take One Piece, for example, you know from the beginning that it's Luffy's goal to find the One Piece and become king of the pirates, for example. Nothing like that really exists in Bleach. Ichigo, the main character, doesn't really have a dream other than protecting people. But as I said, it's not really about the high concept of Bleach. It's just the little things that happen, the battles that happen, the arc kind of rising and fallings that happen. It's just a really fun story. I also think it has a really compelling main character, Ichigo Kurosaki. He has ups and downs in his emotional and mental states, and that to me makes him really relatable and very real, and it helps me connect with his character, I think, more than I do for a lot of protagonists, especially in shonen manga, especially in shonen battle manga. In my opinion, Ichigo really stands out as a great protagonist. I also think Bleach has really great action. It's really easy to follow. Kubo has a very minimalistic art style, which makes it really easy to follow the action. Your eye just, all the noise around the action is cut out kind of, so you can really focus in on what's happening. And because this is a high kind of action-packed series, the art style really contributes well to that, especially when I compare it to some other manga I've been reading recently where there's a ton of detail in the panels. The action can be kind of hard to parse sometimes when that happens, but Bleach has always just been really clear and easy to understand in comparison. There's a lot of high intensity moments in Bleach. It's not really a story that I would say I ever connected with in an emotional way per se, because the thing is, for me, when I say I like a story, usually that either means one of two things. Number one, I really connected to it emotionally, like I was saying, or I was super into the story, the plot of it. And Bleach definitely fits into that camp for me. I was so into this story. I was super enthralled the whole way through. I just wanted to keep reading all the time. While I wasn't connected to the characters, as I said, I did want to see their story continue all the time and just see what they would get up to and what the whole Soul Reaper world would get up to. I was always wanting to come back to the story and back to the world. I also flew through this series. Like, I'm not saying that I read it, like I didn't read it in a week or something. I didn't read it like in an extremely small amount of time like that. But when I did get my hands on volumes and chapters, like they just went by like that so quickly. I bet I could have read this in a week. The only thing holding me back was just getting my hands, like I said, on the volumes, because I was always getting them from the library. Because listen, I was not about to buy 70 plus, like 74 or something like that, volumes of manga. That's like hundreds of dollars at that point. That is so expensive. I was using my library, so I had to keep going back and getting more, and just the travel distance. That was all. And waiting for people to bring volumes back so I could check them out and so on and so forth. That was the only thing holding me back here. Then after a little while, I discovered the Shonen Jump app, which if you are a fan of manga and you have not subscribed to the Shonen Jump app, I think it's only like $3 a month. It is absolutely worth it, and I would 100% recommend it. You can read each chapter for free. Like you can't read a whole volume at one time. You have to still buy volumes, but if you just want to read it chapter by chapter, you can do that just for $3 a month. So anyways, that's a little side note, a little plug. So basically once I found that app, it was like game over for me. I finished the 1,000-Year Blood War arc in like a few days. Back to Bleach specifically. Let's get back to the story of Bleach. Kubo also did a really good job of ending chapters and volumes on cliffhangers. So every time I ended one, I would just want to keep reading. And then I'd finish that chapter. Oh, another cliffhanger. Let me just keep reading. So that really contributed to the page turner kind of aspect of Bleach. There's also a ton of really fun characters in this. So many of them are given good characterization. They're given deep backstories, clear motivations, clear goals, etc. There's some really good character work done here. There are many three-dimensional characters in this series, but at the same time, many characters are not that deep. And honestly, that's okay because they're freaking fun. In my opinion, sometimes fun characters can be fairly shallow because a lot of times more insight into them kind of takes away some of that funness and some of the joy of those characters. Like to me, my philosophy with characters is if you're not going to make them deep, at least make them fun, and that is absolutely what Kubo did. On top of that, the villains in this series were very compelling. All of the villains that we saw. Some were terrifying, some were fascinating, but all were good villains. Overall, to round out this section, picking up Bleach has been a great choice for me, in my opinion. I've loved my time reading it. It was certainly not my introduction to shonen manga, not by a long shot, but it's kept the genre alive in my mind and made me want to keep reading more and more. It was absolutely a blast to read. I love it. What more can I say? I'm also really glad that there's supplemental materials. Now, even after finishing the series, there's some novels, light novels, are they called? I don't know. Or are they just novels? I don't know. And beyond that, there's the new anime adaptation of the 1,000-Year Blood War arc that is ongoing that I'm so excited to watch. It looks amazing. I can't wait to start it. I haven't started it yet. So those are my, overall feelings about Bleach as a series. I want to get into some really specific things now about the series that I just want to say, because I don't know that I've ever been able to just say them in one of my arc discussion videos. So I just want to say, first of all, I want to say who my favorite characters are, because there's so many characters in the series. There's so many good ones. I just want to shout out my favorite ones. Number one is Ichigo. The main character, obviously, he's going to be one of my favorites. He's given the most depth, he's fleshed out the most, and we follow him the most, so how could I not love him? Next is Orihime. I love her compassion and her kindness and her determination to always help her friends. She's So cute and charming. Next is Captain Kyoraku. He definitely fits into the fun camp of characters, although he's also not a completely shallow character by the end of the series. I just love his character design. I love his style. The fourth and final character I will mention as one of my favorites is Urahara. This guy, ever since the beginning of the series, right from the start, he was so intriguing to me. He still is. There's so much mystery surrounding his character the whole freaking way. And as more is revealed about him along the way, it doesn't spoil how interesting his character is. It just makes me fascinated by him more. Okay, so now what I want to do, now that I've finished the series, I want to rank all the arcs. I want to just give my ranking of them. So I'll put them up over here. So out of the 5 main arcs, the main manga arcs, my fifth and least favorite was the Agent of the Shinigami arc, which is the first arc. It wasn't bad by any stretch of the imagination. It just is my least favorite among the rest of these. My fourth favorite was the Soul Society arc, which is the next arc. My third favorite was the Arrancar arc, which is the next arc. My second favorite was the Fullbring arc, which is the next arc. And that brings us to my favorite arc, which is the 1,000-Year Blood War arc. So as you can see, it's in chronological order, which to me meant that the series just kept getting better and better and better the farther along I went. I've seen the opinion a lot around that the Soul Society is the peak of Bleach. And to me, that obviously is not the case. I'm not saying it's bad. Again, I'm not saying any of these are bad. I loved all of them. But to say it's the peak is just it just wasn't my experience at all. I just don't think it's the best that Bleach has to offer. I really had a hard time picking my favorite between Fullbring and 1,000-Year Blood War, but for now, I think I'm keeping the list the way it is. Although these last two are really close in quality to me. Also, just as a last little side note, this really doesn't have anything to do with the quality of Bleach, but it's been interesting as I've been watching Jujutsu Kaisen as the anime has been coming out and reading Bleach at the same time. So I was kind of consuming those two things simultaneously. It has been very obvious to me, at least I think, I could be way off base here, but Jujutsu Kaisen has to have been influenced by Bleach. Like, it has to have taken some inspiration from Bleach. There's so many similarities between the two series. They have kind of similar main characters, similar magic or power leveling systems. Hollows and curses are kind of similar. I have to assume that there was some give and take of inspiration. And if that's the case, that is so cool to see the influence that Bleach has had on a future generation of manga and manga artists. I don't know if you could say the same for any other manga series. If anyone is watching this part and knows, let me know, because I would love to see more things that have been inspired by Bleach. Anyways, it's just so cool. That's a stamp on the industry that this series has made, and that's just awesome. So absolutely, I would 100% recommend picking up Bleach. It is worth your time. All right, now let's move on to talking about the 1,000-Year Blood War arc specifically. And again, as I said at the beginning, this is going to be spoiler talk. So spoiler filled, get out if you haven't read or watched it and you want to. Farewell. So overall, spoiler alerts, as you have seen throughout this video, I really liked this arc. I will get into that more in a little bit, but first, I want to discuss the common criticisms of this arc. So the common criticisms are really all around kind of the ending. It's bad, it was rushed, etc. I have to admit, based on how much people seem to bash on this arc relentlessly, I really wasn't expecting much out of this arc at all. However, personally, I don't know if this is controversial, but I really didn't have that big of a problem with the ending. And I don't know if that was because I was prepared for it going in, but either way, it didn't bother me. I do agree that it definitely did seem a bit rushed at the end. I just remember looking at the chapter count that was left and I was like, okay, we haven't even seen Ichigo in forever. And we're at the end of the whole series. Huh? We haven't even gotten to the final boss fight yet. And you're telling me there's 10 chapters left? Probably even less than that. I don't know, it's wild. In the end, though, it was kind of hard for me to hold the quick final battle against Kubo too much because I knew of the time constraints placed on him. And I know the ending quality was quite a bit out of his control. So I think what we did get was good enough. It's not great in my opinion, but it was fine. It was serviceable. Honestly, like I just thought we were going to be totally cut off at the end and we were not going to have any sort of resolution at all. So the fact that there was some sort of resolution, we got some sort of nice ending to a lot of the characters, really just like exceeded my expectations. So that left me somewhat happy with the ending. As I said, it was good enough to me. But despite the ending criticism, like I said, I think this arc was my favorite. I don't know if it will remain that way, but it is for now. It's action-packed in the same way that a lot of the earlier arcs were, but with this arc specifically, I felt so much more invested in a lot of the battles and fights and action. It all felt so dire and the stakes were raised so much that it kept me very, very engaged. We got so many great character moments that we hadn't gotten as of yet, and it was so great and so satisfying. And maybe they had some little arcs that had kind of been hinted at before, but now we get to see them really come full circle and come to fruition in this arc. So it really was a great series send-off for a lot of them. Because I loved so many of the characters, seeing them get these really great moments and great resolutions and great fights just made me so excited and so happy for them. And just seeing them get so much page time. I was going to say screen time, but it's page time. Seeing a lot of these minor characters or secondary characters get so much page time was just so great. We even got a lot of backstory that I wasn't expecting. Not only Ichigo's, which we're still getting Ichigo backstory. Well, not really his backstory, but his parents' backstory. But not only him, but some of the other characters like Komamura and Urahara, and even that one, well, two of the Quincy's, Basby, and the Hushwalth or something like that. I don't remember names as much now. I love seeing all the Bankai that we hadn't seen yet. We definitely hadn't seen some of the captains and they were great. The Kenpachi reveal. Hello? We got some lore on the Soul King. Not as much as I was kind of wanting. Like they had hinted at that before. I'm guessing the cutoff there kind of had to do with, again, Kubo and his constraints with the ending. But it was cool what we did get. I was interested in what we did get. Squad Zero was so unexpected and so fun. So honestly, not having enough time with Ichigo and Co at the end was sort of forgivable to me just because I was so satisfied with the rest of the character mini arcs that we got. Just overall with this arc, it was really intense and compelling and exciting. And up until the very, very end, really good. And that is my stance on that. So yeah, the 1,000-Year Blood War arc was an amazing finale for the most part. It was great. And once I was done with it, like once I got to the very last chapter, I, was crushed. I didn't want it to be over. I'd invested so much time into the series. Like I didn't want it to be over. So when I finished it on the Shonen Jump app, I got recommended a Bleach One-Shot. And I was like, say, huh? I clicked on it, of course. Like, hello, I clicked on it. And it's so cool to me that Kubo started working on more Bleach content. If you haven't read the One-Shot, I would recommend it. I'm just really excited that there could be more Bleach content to come, perhaps. I know it's not guaranteed, and if it does come, it might be a while. But listen, I'm just happy with anything. As far as quality, it's kind of just the beginning of a story. Like, I wouldn't really call it a true one-shot. It's kind of a prologue to a story. So I can't really speak on the quality too much because we just have this little bit of it. But it was pretty good, and I will reserve my judgment until we see more. If we see more. Along with the extra chapters, that one shot, there's also Burn the Witch. If you have never heard of it, Burn the Witch is a spin-off series of Bleach, also written by Kubo. And just like with the one shot, if you haven't read Burn the Witch, I would recommend it. It was really, really fun. Like I said, it's a Bleach spin-off, so it's set in the same world. It's kind of about the same thing. But instead of Japan, this is set in England, and instead of Soul Reapers, they're witches, and instead of hollows, they're fighting dragons. So it's almost a more high fantasy feel, but it is still set in modern day, so it's like urban fantasy. I love the art style of it. It's really similar to Bleach, obviously. I love the main characters. They're so different from Ichigo, but they're really fun and cute. It's really short. It's only like 4 or 5 chapters. Again, you can find it on the Shonen Jump app. Elsewhere, I'm not sure, but it was really fun. I just wanted to talk about those two things, the one shot and Burn the Witch, because I was just so happy that we're getting more stuff, more expansion of the Bleach world. I hope it continues. I'm really pulling for Kubo to write more, although I've heard that he's, said he's wanting to take his time with these things, which is totally fair, given especially how much he was rushed at the end of Bleach, his big series. There's clearly more Bleach stuff to come. I hope it does eventually come out. We'll see. So anyways, I think that's pretty much all I have to say about Bleach. If you've made it this far in the video or watched any of my other Bleach videos, thank you so much for being here. It's been really fun to talk about this on my channel. This is a big enough series that I felt like I could do standalone videos for each arc. It's just been really fun to go along the series like that. I appreciate you being on this journey with me. If you've watched any of my videos, I've absolutely loved Bleach, as I've been raving about this whole video. I'm so glad I picked it up. This has been the longest manga series I've read, and so I think Bleach will always be sort of special to me in that way. It's the first of the big three that I've ever tried reading. So yeah, it's been a great time. And lastly, for this video, if anyone is still watching at this point, I just want to leave you with one question if you would like to answer. I thought of it one day and I was like, oh, this would be really interesting. I really want to know what people would say to this. So the question is, which Soul Reaper captain would you most want to serve under? It could be any captain from any point in the manga. Mine would probably be either Ukitake, Komamura, or Byakuya post Soul Society arc after he kind of mellowed out and chilled a little bit. There's so many that I wouldn't want just because they're too intense or scary, or they're a child and I would feel inadequate that they're my captain. So I don't know. I'll probably let's go with Ukitake. Anyways, let me know if you have an answer to that. I'd love to hear it. I would also love to hear if you have any thoughts about Bleach, about this arc specifically, or just about Bleach overall. I'd love to know. Let me know. Anyways, thank you again. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you'd like to see more manga or book content. And until next time, have a really, really great day. Farewell.